So, first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to cover the resume. I've read a bunch of resumes in my career, far too many. The reason why we have a picture of a gorilla there is that I actually would rather be punched in the face by that gorilla than review your resume. I hate reviewing resumes because they're all kind of the same. They all kind of suck. And it's not your fault. It's only partially your fault that your resume sucks, okay? Because it really is meant to serve as the catalog of the work that you have performed and your experience that is relevant to the position that you're looking for. Totally fine. It's pretty dry reading. It's even worse if you make some critical mistakes that we're going to point out today. A lot of folks think that they're probably going to find a suitable job by just getting on job boards, sending in applications. And what we've found is that technology today has served as more of a divide between the job seeker and those companies today. If you feel like you're going to get a job from your living room, you're not. It's not going to happen. The average recruiter today spends, guess how much time going through your resume?
6 seconds.
Nailed it. 6 seconds. That's how long. What are they looking for? They're looking for keyword fits. That's all they're looking for. And they can discard your resume just that quickly. So, I'm not saying that a resume isn't important. A resume is vital in the job seeking process, but you should always think of a resume as a supplement to your job seeking activity. You are not going to get the job that you really want through a resume alone. But we are going to cover how to make your resume bulletproof so it can endure that process. I talked a little bit about how when I apply for jobs, when I interview for them, I generally get them. That's true. Do you know what my batting average is just sending out resumes? 0. Yeah, 0. Like, I am the worst resume submitter that has ever lived. I've probably sent out thousands of resumes for positions, and not once have I ever gotten an interview out of it. You know, even worse, I mean, no one's ever offered me a job, no one's even called me back. And it has a lot to do with what you were talking about, which is sometimes I'm trying to get into industries that I don't really have a lot of relevant experience to get into. But there's a way to get into those businesses, into those industries, even if you don't have a whole lot of practical experience going forward. So we're going to talk a little bit about how is it that you can make your resume bulletproof going forward. And there's lots more stuff in the book, but we're just going to cover a couple of things today, okay? So first of all, a lot of folks throw an objective at the top of the resume. Who has an objective on their resume? Anybody? Cool. Totally fine. When I speak to folks that are just getting into the working world, an objective is a great thing to pad your resume out, which is awesome. Because sometimes you think, oh God, I'm really thin here. I want to be able to grow this out. So they put an objective at the top. This is normally what I see. Seeking a challenging, dynamic opportunity where I can thrive in an innovative, fun company with room for growth. It sounds pretty good. Does it sound pretty good? It's actually kind of lame. And the reason why it's pretty lame is because, yeah, it's totally generic. About 50% of the resumes that I've ever gone through have a generic objective like this, and you know what I do with them? I discard them. Because a generic resume to me is code for, I'm sending out a ton of resumes, and I sure hope you see that I'm a diamond in the rough. Please do the work. I'm not going to do the work. I'm going to spend 6 seconds. And remember, I want to be punched in the face by a monkey rather than going through your resume. So don't think that I'm going to make the effort to get to know who you really are as a person. The key is to actually make it entirely relevant. If you were applying for a position at my company, this is what I would want to see in an objective. I'm seeking a marketing position. I'm a marketer. With company X, okay, I work for a company called Helm, so Helm would be there, where I can feed my passion for whatever it is that we do in our department, learning and serving about the industry that we serve, in a team-based environment of respect, resourcefulness, and fun. Now, that's not really hard to put together. In fact, a lot of the clues exist in the ad itself. Companies want to tell you what they're all about. And if you're a recruiter for that company, what we're looking for are those keywords that exist in that job ad so that we can see that it's relevant to us. So think about that when you're creating your LinkedIn profile for experience, and think about that when you're creating any kind of experience that exists in your resume as it goes forward. I see this all the time with experience. Okay, December 2013 to April 2014, marketing manager with this company. So I developed Google AdWords, designed and wrote the company newsletter, hired photographer, coordinated customer emails, managed social media for the company. It sounds like a pretty diverse role. Awesome. Totally unappealing to me. And the reason why it's totally unappealing to me is for a couple reasons. The first reason is my radar's gone off. December 2013 to April 2014. How long did they stay in this gig? 5 months. Now there could be a very relevant reason why they only spent 5 months at that job, but remember, I'm not spending a lot of time on your resume. So this gives me a moment of pause. So get rid of the month. This looks good. 2013 to 2014. That's what you want to put. My wife, when she graduated with her MBA, she went off, she worked for Amazon. She was in Seattle. She negotiated a lot of the major book deals with a lot of the publishers out in New York. It was really painful for her to be there. But she gutted it out an extra month so that she could go from December to January, so it looked like she worked at Amazon for 3 years instead of 2. In terms of the experience, so the first line that we had before was developed Google AdWords campaigns. Awesome, and not awesome. The good version of it is conceive and develop multiple paid search campaigns, inclusive of Google AdWords, monitor campaign effectiveness, and increase year-over-year performance by 15%. So you know what? There's a lot of amplifiers in there, which is great. And you're probably coached already to put amplifiers in your work experience. KPIs absolutely matter. If you're monitoring your performance through metrics in your experience, you're ahead of the game. A lot of people don't think of how to monitor their performance in their experience. So if you're doing that, you're already thinking like the business is, or how the business wants to think it does already. Many businesses don't monitor metrics very well, but they always like to think they do. So you're going to position yourself as a leader if you come in with metrics. Yeah.
So with that, the way I'm reading it, it implies that that person did all of those things by themselves. Is the assumption when someone's reading your resume that you're in general part of a team doing this and you don't have to specify that? Or if I'm part of a team doing that, can I say that and be okay? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great point. So quite honestly, when I was giving this talk to the undergrads, it was for a marketing coordinator position, and it was assisted in the. Yeah, absolutely. It's important to be a part of a team. There's another thing, you touched on something that's really important, and it's not in this talk, but I want to talk about it. The power of the word we. We is a great word to use when you're in an interview environment, because we is a leadership word. I is a social climber word. So when you're only focused on you, people get that from you. But you use the word we, all of a sudden you're positioning yourself as someone that might be managing people, could get along with other teammates because you're thinking about your accomplishments in those terms. So yeah, it's a really good point to put. So yeah, you don't want to position yourself as, hey, I did all of this stuff, because you know what's going to happen? I'm going to get into it. I'm going to ask you about it. And so if you're not confident in it, it's going to come out. So no problem saying assisted in, no trouble. In the book, we talk a little bit about like certain amplifiers that you probably shouldn't be using if you don't feel you've got the acumen. So don't use the word expertise if you've only been doing something for 2 years. You're not an expert. So find another phrase to use that sort of thing going forward, because we're going to grill you on it. Because if you really are an expert, and by the way, I've done this stuff before. So if you're an expert, I'm going to find out pretty darn quick whether or not you're an expert. Don't let a resume blow it up for you when you go for it. The second one I wanted to talk about is, hey, this is the designer that wrote the company newsletter. So there's another way to say this. And monitoring readership is a great way to be able to parrot this stuff back. Folks that don't have a whole lot of work experience, that are doing school projects, still a great way to talk about your experience in terms of metrics. And there's lots of metrics that you can be pulling out there. You know, you might even have team budgets to go and do things. Hey, maybe there's a way that you overachieved on your budget. Maybe there's a way you were more efficient going forward. There are ways for you to be able to relay this stuff. I got asked by a group of folks about, well, lifting readership by 20 to 25%, that's pretty heady. How do you come up with those kinds of stats? That could represent a readership of 4 to 5 people. It's still a stat that you can put in there. You're thinking about your performance. We had a guy apply for a position as an SDR, a sales development rep for our company. All of his experience was running a recreation center. So he was essentially a Zamboni driver. Does everyone know what a Zamboni is? It's the thing that smooths out the ice between periods. Probably not a great fit. And the thing is, he couldn't think to actually tailor his experience to something that made sense to us. So there are clues that you're going to find in the job ad. Like, part of being a sales development rep is you have to make outbound calls. You have to manage a budget. You have to make sure that you're bringing leads in. You have to make sure that you're managing a CRM. The thing is, he was doing all these things as the manager of this rec rink, but he couldn't think to put that in terms that made sense to us. So as a result, I thought, well, if we were hiring for a Zamboni driver, you're our guy. Unfortunately, we're not. Now, another thing that's really important is not only do you have to do that, but because the resume is just a supplement to your job-seeking activity, I'm going to show you how to leverage that even more. Because interest and your networking is going to trump somebody else's experience every time. Okay, this is the big number I want you to remember. 1. If you are applying for positions at the start until you get good at it, 1 a day. And the reason why I suggest 1 a day is that it takes that much time and energy to be able to tailor your resume so that it fits for the position that you're applying for. Oftentimes people think, I got this, no problem. I can just send these resumes out. And writing a resume is a pain in the ass. I know it is. I've done it a lot. However, remember your audience. I'm getting these resumes. If I'm looking at them and they don't match the position that I'm hiring for, I'm just going to discard it. The more you know about me, the more you know about my company, the more you position your experience so that it tailors to the position I'm offering, the better a chance you have of that resume staying on the pile. When I talk to undergrads, what I do to say this, guys, 2 pages. Cover letter, resume. That's it, if you can.
So 1 page for a resume, 1 page for...
You bet. You don't have to write a cover letter if you don't want to, guys. Doesn't matter. And oftentimes it is redundant stuff, but it's not your opportunity to make an emotional appeal to me. Remember, I'm not spending a lot of time on your resume and your cover letter. I'm probably looking for some key phrases. I'm also, and this is interesting, I'm actually looking for you to communicate in the way that we communicate. So my company makes operational software for the commercial maritime industry. They use a 24-hour clock. If you talk to me in that terminology, so if you use 1600 hours instead of 4 p.m., I know that you're thinking about my business. And I know not every business has that kind of language, but it's important to think about how it is they do communicate, because you can start to integrate those sorts of things in a cover letter if you want to. Remember, your cover letter it's really an opportunity for you to be very short and talk about your relevance for the position. That's it. Let the resume do the talking for you. But I lead with resume here, so I don't want to make this seem to be like this is the end-all be-all, guys. It's really not the end-all be-all. The resume should not be your first contact with a company, ever. The resume should be the thing that gets you eventually to the job interview, but you should have some friendly faces guiding you into that job interview.